Hello everyone, welcome back to the latest update series of Drishti IAS. This is Divya Kavasra and today we meet to discuss E100 fuel. That's right, last we discussed about E85 fuel, this time we are discussing about E100 fuel. That's amazing. Now in E85 fuel we saw that there was 85% of ethanol. So does that mean E100 is 100% ethanol? Are we just going to totally skip petroleum from our economy? Is that really possible? No. We'll answer all these questions. We'll see what is happening. What is E100? We'll answer all of those questions today. All right, stay tuned for that. And now, first of all, what has happened recently is that our Union Minister Nitin Gadkari has officially approved the regulations that we are legally authorizing. He said that. What are we legally authorizing? That we can have E100, that is almost, not exactly, almost 100% ethanol. Please remember that this is almost 100% ethanol fuel in India. This has given an edge to the industry like Hyundai, Toyota. Everybody's coming up with the FVP vehicles. That we have FFV vehicles or the flexible petroleum or flexible fuel vehicles that we call. Because we know that in the E85 also we understood that normal vehicles on the normal engines cannot operate on this oil. Why not? Why not? Because ethanol is corrosive in nature. It takes on water. Okay. What happens is ethanol takes moisture. Because of that moisture, it leads to corrosion, and that corrosion leads to further degradation of the engine, the rubbers and the connectors, everything starts falling apart. That's why the normal vehicles with the normal engines that are built for petroleum, high-scale petroleum or diesel cannot run on the ethanol blending of a very high scale, right? That's why we were moving towards FFVs, that is flexible fuel vehicles or flexi fuel vehicles that we call, yeah? So in this case, while we are talking about E100, why are we moving towards this? First of all, obviously, the primary reason is our oil dependency. Right? India's oil dependency is risingly becoming a concern because every time there is an oil crisis, India's economy suffers on a great deal, right? It suffers on a great deal, and not just economy. Mind it, not just economy. Even our sovereignty suffers. How is that? Even our diplomacy suffers. How is that? Because we have to go and ask the countries to give us fuel on their conditions, their terms, and we have no other option than to accept their terms and conditions. Why? Because we don't have sufficient to serve the needs of the entire nation, right? So we learned from Brazil. However, Brazil has it quite easy because Brazil has large-scale sugarcane production. So naturally, it is quite easy for Brazil to run on ethanol, and it successfully did that. And based on that, we've learned that, okay, we are going to apply that on India as well. We came up with E85. A lot of concerns have been rising based on that also. But what people don't understand is that your cars are not eligible for it. If you are going and forcefully getting E85 fuel, that is on you. That is on you. If your engines are failing after that, that is on you, because your cars are not designed for that. If your car has a flexible fuel vehicle, it is a flexible fuel vehicle, it has a flexible fuel engine, only then it will survive on E85. Now we are moving towards E100. Does that mean 100% ethanol? No. So what does it mean? Let's find out. So what we are doing is that in India, earlier we had E10, that is 10% of ethanol and 90% of petrol. Then we had E20, 20% of ethanol and 80% of petrol. Then we came up with E85, and in E85 we had 85% of ethanol. And now we are coming to E100. Please mark, it is approximately 100. Why do we call approximately 100? Because we need to mix this ethanol. We need to mix this ethanol along with other fuels, right? Like we'll add a bit of petroleum, not much, just 2-3% of petroleum or 5% of petroleum. That much we will add petroleum, but that's like negligible. That's like negligible, but we still need it. That's why even when we are talking about E100, the best thing for you to remember, the very important thing for you to remember is that it is not 100% ethanol. Can you remember that? Yes. The name suggests 100% according to the trend we have so far, because E10 said 10%, 20 said 20%, 85 said 85%. So naturally, we would assume that 100 said 100%. No. We have to put in some sort of other biofuel or some sort of other petroleum, diesel, something. Why do we need that? Because of the combustion levels. Because of the combustion levels, ethanol without a mix-up, without a blend, will run up into fumes. It will run up into fumes and the mileage will drop to a very critical level. Mileage will drop to a very critical level. That way, our economy will not be able to accept that. Our people will not be able to accept that. And also, it won't be good for the vehicle as well. Why not? Because if the combustion is so high, combustion rate is so high, that means the engine will be working 24/7 on a very high operability, right? Running on a very high operability, that will give it small life cycle. The engine will get small life cycle. Second thing is that this won't get the combustion on its own in the winters. In the winters, it won't even start. It won't even start because it won't be able to gain that combustion level on its own. We need to add fuel to give it that combustion level. Okay, do you understand that? Yeah. So this is called cold start failures. This is called cold start failure, and this might occur if we use complete ethanol. If we use complete ethanol, low mileage will be there. Engine and pump damage can be there because it won't be able to have it, right? And the metal and everything, rubber, plastic, metal, everything will start melting because of that extreme content of ethanol, right? Another problem why we cannot do this is also because of the food and fuel risk. Food and fuel risk, why? If you do this 100% ethanol, that means we won't be dependent on petroleum anymore, right? Even if we develop such vehicles, we develop such engines, that's fine. But even then, there will be a concern that everybody, almost every farmer would try to opt towards sugarcane cultivation, right? And that sugarcane will be used for fueling, and we would be moving towards non-food crops, raising a food security crisis in the nation. That's right. If we do that, everybody would start moving towards sugarcane, and in that manner, what will happen? What will happen? We will move towards food crisis because most of the cultivable land in India would be covered under sugarcane. And we don't want that. That food security should be maintained. So we are not completely relying right now. What we are doing is we are slowly phasing in. We are slowly phasing in this kind of fuel while we are also creating flexible fuel vehicles, flexible fuel engines at the same time. Is that clear? Yes? Yeah. So we're not going to completely eliminate this. However, it will obviously help in our macroeconomic because we'll be able to reduce our import bill, because 80 to 85% of our imports, obviously, we are dependent upon the rest of the nations. And any crisis leads to price rise. That price rise leads to a crash in our economy, and all the macroeconomic elements of our structure come crashing down, right? There was a crash down in the market, right? And just because yesterday, US and Iran and everybody, they decided that, okay, let's have a deal, right? Let's have a deal. And with that, the market came up. That is the immediate effect of international events. So just imagine if this long-term dependency continues, what it will do to our economy. So naturally, we need to become independent in that scale. Yes? Yeah. Next thing is agrarian income and rural wealth creation. Why? Because ethanol production will obviously shift the energy from the foreign oil to independent straight from the Indian farmers, right? Yeah. Sugarcane, maize, corn, damaged food grains, agricultural waste, everything can be used into creating biofuels. And that way, the program through which we are creating biofuel through this waste, etc., has already generated 80,000 crore of income for agricultural sector, right? So this will be a good price support mechanism for our surplus crops. Then decarbonization goals. As it is a plant-based fuel, it will burn cleaner. There will be an internal combustion engine, right? It will be better than petrol. It will be better than petrol. So naturally, there will be a lower tailpipe of our emission, and it will help in our targets of decarbonization as well, protecting the environment. So it will be a good step towards that. Yes, do you agree? All right, exactly. Now, if we talk about the technical modification, like what is going to happen and what will be the vehicle compatibility, we'll need to have a corrosion resistant structure. right? Because it is hygroscopic, absorbs water from the air. Because of that, water engine gets a corrosion. So we'll have to have elements that are highly corrosion resistant, right? That is not available in the traditional fuel system. So we'll have specially designed engines and specially designed vehicles. Engine calibration will also change. It will have different air-fuel ratio, and based on that different air-fuel ratio will have higher octane rating than petrol, right? So naturally, we will have different engines also for this. Manufacturing pipeline, Maruti Suzuki has already been testing E100 ready WagonR. There is a prototype of WagonR that Maruti has already been testing, right? So this had already been in the idea, and the testing is being done. Once it is successful, the rolling out will begin. Okay, yeah. So that way, we'll have Toyota, MG, Hyundai. They'll all have flex fuel models ready in no time. And Hero MotoCorp has already showcased its flex fuel vehicles, right? Hero has already come up with this flex fuel vehicles, and that way our industry is also aligning to quickly move towards this so that we can preserve our economy standards. Yeah, exactly. Now to discuss what are the pros and cons of this, just understand that E100 fuel has different pros, like it is renewable and domestic energy, right? Produced from agricultural crops, sugarcane, maize, etc. So this is a biomass. So naturally, this will reduce our dependence on foreign oil. This is the first pro. Secondly, it will increase farmers' income, right? If government is buying a lot of crop from them, naturally this will increase their the farmers' income and boost our economy as well. It is environment friendly, so it will reduce greenhouse gases also. And it has high octane rating. If high octane rating, that means it is better engine performance and powers is modified engines. Yeah, so better potential is here. But in cons, we can see lower energy density, right? There's lower energy density. If we talk about 1 liter of petrol versus 1 liter of E100 energy, there will be fewer miles per gallon, right? Will require more frequent refueling as compared to petrol, right? Yeah, that problem we faced in CNG gases also, that we faced in EV vehicles also. Same thing is happening here. Then we have vehicle compatibility corrosion. This is a problem that most of the available vehicles are not aligned with this. They will lead to corrosion. So naturally, we need to roll out new vehicles. So immediate phasing in of this is not possible. It will take a long time before we extend towards that. Yeah. Then we have the cold starting issue we already discussed in the winters. Once the engine is cold, starting it will be very difficult because of the oil quality. Yeah. Then we have agricultural land and water strain. Because sugarcane, etc., it takes a lot of water. Water strain will be there, and more land will be brought down under sugarcane and maize, etc. That will create land crisis also, right? So these are the pros and cons. However, right now, as per the demand of the time, as per the demand of the economy, we need to move towards E100 fuel. So these are the challenges that we will see regarding logistic and infrastructures and fuel dilemma that we have seen. However, for now, the legal framework has been cleared down and we are introducing E100 for sure. Yeah, we are coming up with that, but just remember, E100 is not 100% ethanol. It is a blend. It is still a blend, but very minuscule blend, right? Why do we have the blend? To solve these problems that we just saw. Is that clear? Yes? Yeah. That is about our E100 fuel that is recently being rolled out in the nation. Based on this, we have a question for you. Read the question and give us your answer in the comment section. All right. Read the question, that is statement regarding E100 fuel, and give us your answer in the comment section. All right. That's about it. That's about it. Thank you so much for joining in. We'll see you in the next video. Till then, take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
For more informative content, like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.